G'day, I'm Paul, and look who's here. Well, look where I am, rather.
Yeah, look who's here. What a surprise.
I'm in your fat cave. A lot of you guys will know John. He runs the Other Expert channel. Arguably less of an expert just based on subscribers, but I won't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Let's get in early.
No, just kidding, I'm being a bitch. So we're doing kind of like a collab, except it's not a sort of icky influencer thing. And we've shot another video where we went through John's barrage of fired shots at our BYD Shark content. And I thought it was quite a robust discussion. If you do want to check that out, that is on John's channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description below, and there'll be a card on the screen here as well.
And because we're both nerds, we've organised to synchronise the publication of these videos down to the nanosecond.
Technology.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
And a lot of people think we're like mortal enemies. But
we are.
Well, yeah, actually.
But in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
You know.
We thought we'd do a video today on the barrage of plug-in hybrid utes that are coming, and it kind of the Shark spurred us on to get to this because they're fundamentally different beneath the skin, and I think they serve different purposes depending on what you want to do, how much you want to spend, and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to focus on the GWM Cannon Alpha Hi4T PHEV, and then the Ford Ranger plug-in hybrid. The BYD Shark.
Remember when they used to use names like, Cougar?
Yeah, that's it, the VX. So let's run through the Shark. So we know that the Shark effectively is internal combustion engine that can drive the wheels at above, 70 odd Ks an hour.
Sort of highway cruising speed thing.
And it's paired with 2 electric motors and a 30 odd kilowatt hour battery.
Which is pretty impressive when you think about it, and very different to what your blue singlet beard stroking ute buyer is likely to default to, right? So this is going to require almost as much of a head explosion as it does to accept that we're in the same room together without blood all over everything. Okay.
And the thing is, people were buying dual cab utes like the Raptor because they wanted all this noise and all this acceleration. Well, we demonstrated when we shot our drag race video that the Shark is actually quicker than the Raptor.
That was so hilarious.
And I think it destroyed a lot of hearts. You have to go to like Herod Performance and spend many thousands of dollars to actually retain your title. But it is effectively now outclassed by a vehicle with a 1.5 litre turbocharged engine, which is quite funny.
It's a brain bender. Like, it's a total brain bender. Like, the future just knocked on the door and stepped through, and people are still going, blah, blah, blah.
Now, have you driven the Shark yet?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking about buying one, though.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, and then I watched the specs on the GWM, and I thought, anyway, we'll get to that.
Okay, so look, the Shark, over 300 kilowatts of power, it basically is driven as an electric vehicle most of the time. The internal combustion engine is just working to keep afloat on the battery. The Shark is a little different to other plug-in hybrids on the market that will actually read empty, but they're not really empty. They always have a reserve amount because these vehicles need to set off with the engine switched off.
Can you imagine the battery actually being allowed to empty itself to zero, and then the stop-go man goes, go, and you have to be there for 5 minutes while the internal combustion engine tops up the battery, and everyone behind you says, sorry, like this, like, come on.
Which is literally what would happen.
It is. It is. So, but the bottom line with all of that is that the actual technology, the engineering in these complex systems, it's simplified for consumers to bend their heads around, but it's more complex than that. Like, empty in the Shark, in the case of camping, means 25%.
Yep.
Done.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be able to use any more than that if you're using vehicle to load. So the car has all of these safeguards in place. And while we were able to reach the limits of some of those systems with edge cases, for most people, it is going to be an excellent vehicle that does off-road stuff. It does towing fairly well at 2.5 tonnes. It is going to cover a really wide range of experiences.
Dude, that battery is 30 kilowatt hours, if memory serves. And that means you've got 22.5 to burn at a campsite. And most people would burn, 20-ish kilowatt hours at home every day. So you could blast Celine Dion out across the campsite with lights and
have a warm bath.
You could piss everyone off. Right? Everyone. Celine Dion. Communing with nature, Celine Dion.
And it will not be over anytime soon.
Homicide squad in attendance the next morning.
So I think we agree.
It's a lot of electricity.
Oh yeah, from that point of view, it's great. And price is good, under $60,000. So Where it differs completely, though, from the plug-in hybrid Ranger and Cannon Alpha, and we'll touch on the Ranger, Ford has really shot themselves in the foot because plug-in hybrids are considered premium technology because you have to add a fixed cost of a battery. Batteries aren't free, they're expensive, well, relatively. You have to add that in, you've got to add electric motors, you've got a lot of components to add in. So by default, it
complexity
must be,
factor, infinity.
It must be more expensive than your 2-litre diesel.
Sure.
The other problem Ford has as well is that they're producing this in South Africa. And
well, they've got lions incentivising the workers, right?
That's it. You've got giraffes helping on the assembly line and stuff. You're going to have a tariff as well. So there is only so many ways they can cut the Ranger up.
That's right. There'll be import duty. We haven't got a free trade agreement with South Africa.
So, I mean, it's going to cost you probably an arm and a leg. And I'm tipping $20,000 to $30,000 more than the Shark. And I just don't see why, even with a smaller battery, you would go down that path.
It's got a 12 kilowatt hour battery.
I mean, it's virtually nothing.
And so Ford's press release, if memory serves, they issued this mad press release that basically just said the one thing we can do that the Shark can't is 3.5 tonne tow capacity. And that was 2,500 words that said that's all people want, right? And au contraire, because it's going to be like 30 grand more.
Yep.
Come on.
And the other issue they're going to have is that the GWM Cannon Alpha Hi4T PHEV can do.
Did you
3.5
practice
tonnes.
that in the plane?
Yeah, over and over, and I think I just nailed it.
You've nailed it. You know, I feel so guilty whenever I criticise you. Because I was such a cock to you years ago.
Yeah.
Like you've still got the scar.
We actually have, and some people don't know this, we've got a lot of history because John used to be the editor of Car Advice, which was our old publication. And I've received some lengthy emails from John, none of which were nice.
I don't think they were nasty. They were just critical.
Very.
But if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Exactly,
You're
something
strong
like that.
now, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I can lift all this stuff you have in the fat cave.
Just do a few curls with that.
That is impressive. You have, just on a side note, some very cool tools around here.
I like my Franken wrenches, mate. These are cool.
Amazing.
It's for an ER32 collet. You don't know what that is?
No. What is that?
It's a work holding. It's like a drill chuck, but more precise. It's got better concentricity and more likely to find it in a
literally about to say
milling
that.
machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
The words right out of my mouth.
But you need a 42mm wrench, and the default setting is they come this long.
Wow.
You know. And you only want to hold it like that. Anyway, we digress.
Yes. So the GWM, that's a similar arrangement in terms of power and torque to the Shark. 300 kilowatts, 750 newton meters. Difference is, though, that it uses a 2-litre instead of a 1.5 litre, and the engine itself will do 180 kilowatts of power, 380 newton meters of torque.
And the powertrain, like it's got a blue singlet Bogan 4-wheel drive powertrain.
Yeah.
Hey.
Front and rear diff locks, low range, 9-speed, hybrid transmission, whatever that means.
So this is potentially a bit of a knee in the nuts for the old BYD, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Ranger. Like,
but the Ranger's already been kneed in the nuts by the BYD.
Yeah. Now, where this is going to make a big difference, when we did the Shark review, we found that it struggled, and it was probably a software thing, but it struggled to get up our gravel hill at the proving ground. But if you extrapolate it further, you've got climb limits on that vehicle due to the electric motors. They don't have stepped gears at the wheels. The engine itself is effectively a direct drive at above 70 k's an hour.
There's got to be a duty cycle limit to low speed, maximum torque, meaning maximum current type operation, right?
You would think so. And it would be
and you exploit that off road all the time.
Yeah, 100%. So I think the big difference here with the GWM and the Ranger is that they effectively have the same driveline, so to speak, that the internal combustion version does. All they're doing is sandwiching an electric motor in that driveline so that you can actually have that drive the vehicle if required. And the difference you're going to find is that when you are off-road, you can actually multiply your torque by having a low-range transfer case and gearing in this instance, and diff locks.
And an electric assist.
And an electric assist. Like, it is like
that's what you're not getting with the BYD, right? You're getting the electric assist because that's all there is at low speed. You're not getting any direct powertrain, low-range thing at all. So this could be a real wake-up call for the BYD and for every other diesel ute that's so popular at the moment.
Yeah.
Because which best of both worlds scenario does it not have?
Yeah, exactly. And we spoke about this in the other video that at the moment, if you novate lease a plug-in hybrid on an electric vehicle, you're FBT exempt, which is a huge thing to have for anyone really who wants to reduce their tax. And if GWM wants to compete with BYD, they will price this thing at the same price as the BYD, right?
It's got to be just under the threshold for FBT exemption.
Yeah. So you're going to be paying under 60K, you're getting FBT exemption, you're lowering your tax with a novated lease. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer. It's either that or spend...
But when's it going to be launched?
Well, this is just around the corner, the GWM. The Ford Ranger apparently is Q1.
But you're going to have to pedal like bugger because the FBT exemption for plug-in hybrids runs out on the 1st of April, like April Fool's Day.
What a little joke that is.
Yeah, appropriately enough for the federal government, which is just Errol Flinning itself all over town, including with this, because hybrids and plug-in hybrids, their sales are geometric like this. Electric car sales are a bit flat at the moment, but there's real growth in plug-in hybrids, which you can drive like an EV for your normal driving. And they're going to go and shoot it in the junk on April the 1st. Like,
it honestly makes no sense at all. That stuff just...
Yeah.
Anyway, you can do a separate thing on that altogether, but I think that this will really be interesting. And
it's got a bigger battery too. It's got 25% more battery than the BYD. So 37.5 kilowatt hours for the GWM versus 12 for the Ranger.
Wow.
Like, well done, Ford.
Only a third of the size.
Yeah.
So look, I think it is a really interesting time ahead. I'm very much looking forward to driving these. One of the downsides of having a step transmission sort of in line with an electric motor, which I've experienced with Mazda products before, where they decided to do an in-house 8-speed automatic transmission. And when it comes to doing stuff in-house, if that isn't your core responsibility or core advantage in the market, you'd probably just leave it to someone else like ZF or literally anyone else. And their setup is not great. You've basically got a plug-in hybrid that will keep changing gears when it's in electric mode, and because the gearbox is inherently clunky, you're getting these jerky moments that just don't sit well. I'm hoping with this setup here that GWM's targeting and the one that Ford's doing, Ford's is even worse. They have a 10-speed auto, so you've got all of these extra ratios that it's constantly going to be chugging through. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and how they actually feel behind the wheel.
You know what
smooth.
You know what gets me about the 10-speed transmission proposition is if you've got 750 Newton meters, how many ratios do you really need?
Exactly. That's I just don't understand that.
Like, there's got to be at any speed and in any particular load type conditions, there's got to be 3 gears that are good enough.
Exactly. 100%. Yep. Yeah, it really does not make any sense to me. And
this GWM though, it's got a beautiful interior. It's got
looks amazing. I mean, we're scrolling
got a screen
through
about this big, so no distraction there. It'll be like being interrogated by the North Koreans. Driving at night. You want to be able to dim it up nicely. But this yellow colour. I hope it's available in more than just the signature colour.
Well, maybe you might take up taxi driving in Melbourne or something. So,
well, possibly. It's not much of a tradies ute though. None of these are. Like, they don't have the
500 odd kilos of payload. I mean, even if you're going to tow 3.5 tonnes, the second you put any mass on that downball, you're going to be eating away at your payload.
Well, you and your apprentice are going to be 200-ish kilos by the time you've got your packed lunch in the back.
Exactly. You're basically at your limits there.
You put your tow ball on top of that. It's going to be 300 kilos, then there's your 500 kilos of payload.
You're done. You can't have anything else in the vehicle. So I think a lot of people will do or offer a GVM upgrade for the GWM, and then that will assist with that. But you're always going to be limited. I love this tray, the split tailgate. It's basically allows it to open in several different ways, and I think that's a pretty sort of clever setup. The vehicle itself, the Shark 2, is big. Like, you think a Ford Ranger's big. Both of these are actually quite sizable. So
I know they're like 5.5 metres long.
You're going to see more of these on the road. So one question I've got for you, and this is just my engineering mind thinking about this.
If you're looking for me for an answer here, you're bottom of the barrel scraping, aren't you?
Have a look at the curb weight. 2.8 tonnes. Shark is 2.7 odd tonnes.
Yeah.
These things are fucking huge.
Sure.
So
I'm not sure. Well, okay, so I'm not sure we're saving the planet.
Yeah.
2.8 tonnes of precious raw materials at a time with a service life of like 10 years or less, because let's be fair, these things are the first generation of this style of thing. So they're likely to just do the whole lemmings off the cliff thing with your dough. You'll be able to brag about it enthusiastically for 18 months or something, but after that, it might be painful. And how we're saving the planet exactly nearly 3 tonnes at a time. I don't get that.
And you're going to have long-term the same issue that you have with electric vehicles where battery capacity degrades. So you're going to be lugging around this thing that isn't as effective as it was when you bought it.
It's a fuel tank that weighs the same empty.
Yeah.
And imagine if you bought, I don't know, a Hilux GR thingo, and every year you lost 3 to 5% of your fuel tank capacity and your payload, or something of that nature. There'd be marchers, there'd be blue singlets marching in the streets, stroking their beards indignantly, demanding the ACCC Act.
100%. So I just think that it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
But if there's a step change in battery technology too,
that'll change everything.
That will fuck every existing owner. And we're always told it's a little bit like fusion power, isn't it? That the next big thing in batteries is just around the corner. But I haven't
just
seen
like
it
my
yet.
Diet. From Monday, I will not
I'm turning
eat
things
KFC.
around. And me and alcohol, it's over.
It's not happening. With battery tech, I think it was Nissan, although they're running into a couple of financial issues at the moment.
Oh, you think?
Just a bit.
Imagine having to beg Honda to bail you out.
God. That's something.
Couldn't have predicted that one.
But they were talking about 2024, they would have a production line running of solid state batteries. And they told us this in October. They're like, no, there's still time left in 2024. And it's now not 2024, and there is still no production line with solid state batteries.
You know, they could have built it at the base on Mars that was also going to be up and running in 2024.
With the autonomous driving Teslas on their way there at the moment.
And that toaster thing that's a minibus. I love that too. Like, how innovative.
So look, I don't know. I think that battery tech, will absolutely evolve over time, but it is taking in cars a little while because there are some unique challenges. Batteries at home, I'm sort of just speaking off the top of my head here, but your load cycles daily are fairly similar. You load it up, you use X amount of energy, it charges either through the grid or through your solar. It's all fairly gradual. With cars, especially cars that will generate 300 kilowatts of power, you are creating sudden current draws constantly on this vehicle.
Well, I've got a 20 kilowatt hour battery just up there, on the roof of the Fat Cave, essentially, and it discharges at a maximum rate of 5 kilowatts. Right?
Which is safe.
So it's 20 kilowatt hours discharging at 5. You can have a 60 kilowatt hour battery in an electric car discharging at 160, 150-ish kilowatts, which is a completely different ballpark when you think that what you're asking is a particular mass of reactive chemicals to just churn and burn and produce electricity. And you're asking for a shit ton more churning and burning when you want an electric car. The lights go green and you want to embarrass...
You're next to a Raptor.
Some dickhead in a Raptor, the ultimate tool carrier, right? And you do want to embarrass the shit out of him, but those chemicals are just getting flogged, man. They're getting flogged.
Absolutely, it's very different. So I think that's why in homes battery tech is evolving, and it's really sort of getting somewhere.
But
just
in these
feels
things
in
too,
cars.
like these things are a constant load.
Exactly.
So. And despite the fact that tradies managed to kick them off ladders and all that stuff, you hardly ever hear about batteries like this doing the Vesuvius thing. But I think we're in a position now where batteries are in danger of getting a really bad rep, And they don't have to, because if a battery's well engineered with control architecture and all that stuff, it's pretty safe.
Absolutely.
It's just...
Absolutely.
Did you see that on New Year's Eve? The best one of all time was on New Year's Eve in a subway car in Toronto. Some dipshit...
That's right.
Some dipshit food delivery dickhead takes his e-bike, and the e-bike, the manufacturer says, not to be used in winter and not to be used for commercial purposes. So he's Uber eating it in the middle of winter in Canada, gets on the subway, and then 3 seconds... smoke starts coming out of the battery and there's this huge fireball, and it was just serendipitous that the car was pulling into the station and people could get
evacuate
out
and breathe
alive.
Yeah.
Right? Just
And
unbelievable.
that's actually where a lot of those fires are happening at home. People getting shitty charges on their shitty e-bikes.
Yeah.
And then house goes up because...
But you live in an apartment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
where would you put an e-bike? It'd go in the vestibule somewhere or in the laundry, and that'd be between the living area
Exactly.
and your only means of escape.
100%,
So,
yeah. And that is precisely what's happening. And you know,
but cars have got solid BMS systems, and
exactly.
you know, that's why they don't burn very often.
Exactly. You know, the funny thing is, just digressing ever so slightly, my brother is an electrician. He bought a wrecked BYD Atto 3, had 300 kilometres on the clock when it was rear-ended. They wrote it off because it was too hard to fix. He bought it for $2,500. So he basically took it to his warehouse, pulled the battery out, and is now using the battery to run the warehouse through a separate BMS. But it is basically a brand new battery on a car that did 300 kilometres that was all perfectly intact. But
Nice big battery to run a warehouse. Too.
Huge. So, but that's my thing, that these things are really good at home purposes. I just wonder how we're going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the track when they're sort of just sitting around. Cars these days, you often see it on Marketplace, people selling like an EB Falcon. This is a car that was launched in the 90s that is still sort of driving someone somewhere.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be the same thing with electric cars down the track, but
well,
you know.
This CSIRO's got a pretty good report about the looming environmental catastrophe of lithium battery waste.
Yep.
And they don't just mean cars, they mean, you know, these kind of batteries, laptops, everything that's battery powered. I mean, look, we live in a battery powered world. Like,
And they're disposable now as well.
Yeah.
All this stuff, you'll just go buy another one. You won't...
Yeah, but you listen to the politicians and they say, oh, the batteries are recyclable. Right? Yeah, they are. They're potentially recyclable, but who's actually doing that?
And at what cost?
Yeah, how much does it cost? And if they're so recyclable and the materials are so fucking valuable, why aren't the purchasers, the recyclers, why aren't they queued up over the horizon offering to pay you for your used battery so that they can extract these valuable metals? You know?
Yeah, that's the problem. It is true you can recycle most of that battery, but it is very time, resource, and energy intensive, cost intensive. And just like any other business in the world, no one is going to do that unless there is money to be made. Yeah. And at the moment, there's no money to be made. So,
well, we digress on that, and there's a dirty big one of them coming up in the GWM, and I'd be looking forward to having a play with that when it comes out. But
you know what we should do, given the nature of these collaborations, we should get you down to the proving ground and we should get these vehicles and figure out a bunch of tests that we can do to actually... figure out which is best.
We can bleed on the floor bilaterally in an exotic location.
Just wait till you see the fucking flies. They are
don't tease me.
Another planet.
It's a new experience in the busted ass scrub of Australia. There's funnel web spiders rain from the sky three times a day.
Australia is such a unique place, but...
Yeah, that's very kind.
Yeah.
That's very diplomatic.
We'll make it happen. All right, and finally, Ranger. Look, I mean, the Ranger will be using a larger 2.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine.
So that it's more great. Of a... Yeah, it's a decent engine, but in the context of hybrids... This is like plug-in hybrid light in the context of these three vehicles.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's got the reputation.
Yep.
Everyone knows Ford.
Is it a good one or a bad one?
Well, you bought one.
Well, look, aside from the diff needing to be replaced, which I don't think was my fault, I think, my car has been reliable. So, but I know a lot of people have had issues. So
yeah, look, people get the wrong idea about reliability, I think, because even the shittest reliability examples in the country, most of those cars are reliable. The majority remain.
You look at how many
reliable.
they sell, right?
Yeah,
if you're selling, tens or hundreds of thousands of these cars, yes, some will fail, but you've got to look at the percentage of. If 50% of them were failing, I'd be like, well, okay, we've got a problem here.
And even if there's a relatively high failure rate, what really matters more than anything else is what level of support do you get at the dealership and what level do you get from the importer, because. If you have a failure and your car arrives at the dealer on the back of some truck and someone walks out and says, sir, that's terrible, we're on it. Here's a replacement car, terribly sorry for the inconvenience.
We'll call you when it's fixed.
And then later on they say, we got to the bottom of that, it's fixed. You go, you turn into an ambassador, right?
100%.
But if they try and throw you under the bus, right? If they say, That bull bar there, that's
Yep,
not genuine.
that's it.
And your fuel tank's got a leak in it,
Yep.
so we're not covering that.
Yep, that scent thing you've got on the mirror, that completely destroyed the engine.
Yeah.
So
You fit
yeah.
a snorkel, you muppet.
Yeah, that's what concerns me, especially in this segment with dual cabs. I say to people all the time that, yeah, great, go and fit whatever you want to the vehicle, but know that the first thing they will do is try and pin that accessory on whatever has failed.
Yeah.
They will go, they're like insurance companies. If they can get out of,
Look for a reason.
they will screw you over every time.
There needs to be some sort of good faith, reasonable balance, because some owners are just comprehensive muppets.
Yeah, they'll skip services, don't replace oil.
Cut the back off their wagon with an angle grinder and turn it into a ute. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then they'll front up to the dealer and say,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I haven't modified it at all."
No, it was like that when I bought it. And even when it comes to servicing your new car, you don't have to get it serviced at your dealership. But if you do take it to a mechanic, take it to someone who has half a clue of what they're doing and will use either genuine parts or stuff that is permitted by the manufacturer. Because that is, again, if they pop your bonnet and you've got a $3 oil filter, that will get you every time.
I get these emails from people and they say, "I've serviced my car on time," right? And what they haven't said is that, but they've driven 100,000 Ks in between those services. They've been bang on time every 12 months, but they've just driven 100,000 Ks a year, right? And so half of the people who complain about this kind of thing, in my experience, are the only deficiency is between their ears.
Yep.
Like the problem is intellectual.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the other half is legitimate people who should rightly deserve support from a car maker, and they're just not getting it, which is
it's literally those two things. Yeah, it's literally those two things.
They tend to be extremes. No,
and I reckon those guys email everyone, because what we find is I'll get an email through my website, which I've just stopped accepting emails on because it just gets out of control with people wanting help.
Sure.
And
I just can't respond to everyone.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, I will go and inquire with the manufacturer because I genuinely want to help someone if they have a problem.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, they've skipped like 2 services, not had the oil changed on their car, and it's shit itself.
I've had so many back-channel conversations with car makers in exactly like that. It's like, hey, you need to know that this guy has skipped 3 services in a row, and his car's done 150,000 Ks. He should have had 10 services. He's had 4.
Yep. It's like, well, what do you expect? They don't tell you to come and service it. Well, maybe Toyota does because they do it every 6 months, but they don't tell you to come and service it for fun.
But it's a contract, right? Like,
exactly.
You've got a contract, and your warranty is a contract. It depends on you doing the right thing, and it depends on them doing the right thing if you do the right thing. So
absolutely. All right, well, we've spoken about a lot of stuff here. So, let us know in the comments section below, what do you reckon about these dual cab utes? Which one are you leaning towards? Have you bought a Shark? The first delivery one was the other day, and the picture they published of the bloke, he rocked up in a suit to pick it up, and I'm like, are you James Bond or something? So that was interesting. Have you got a Shark? How's it going? Let us know, and do head over to John's channel as well so you can see the other video that we shot. We're going to work on doing some fun stuff.
And tell us how shocking it was to see the other expert in the wrong fat cave. Jesus Christ, like heads are exploding all over Australia.
I'm genuinely amazed at this, and we're going to show as much of the cool stuff you have here as we can without revealing too much, but I think it is a very cool setup.
No, I'm
impressed.
I think it's always worse when you see, it's like meeting one of your heroes and you figure out they're a scumbag just like you.
That's it.
It's like the fat cave. Is this all it is?
Yeah,
it's just
where are the hookers?
It's just a garage full of shit.
Anyway, thank you for watching again, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, head over and check out John as well. But
can I do the wave?
Oh yeah, go on.
See you later.